What's going on, everybody? Cuffin a Dip coming at you guys with another one, guys. Hopefully, everybody's feeling good. And of course, guys, we are doing a Rever DeFi AMA, guys. And I'm really interested in this one because they are trying to kind of change the whole direction of healthcare. Just a little thing like that. So I'm very curious about what is behind this token, guys. So let me go ahead and bring in Warrior and see what he has to say about Reaver DeFi. What's going on, Warrior? How you feeling today?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
No problem, no problem at all. I do appreciate you for coming on, and I do want to get some more information out here about Reaver DeFi. So, but of course, first, I don't know if you've seen any of my AMAs, but I do like to get to know the person behind, well, team behind the token. So, for those who do not know you, can we get a quick introduction and some background information on to why you felt qualified to make a token?
Yeah, so thanks for the question. For anyone that hangs out in DeFi type Twitter spaces, I mean, you probably do know me. I spend a lot of time educating, and I do share communities as we all do. This is from my perspective a movement. I always say that DeFi has four layers. You got the tech, you have the business innovation in terms of business models. You have the policy and legislation. I know it's not something we want to talk about, but whether it's self-governance or otherwise, it's happening. And then we also have the social movement. And really it's the social movement that brought me here. It's about people, and it's about changing, you know, changing the human, the social conditions that we all have to exist under. So that's important for me because I grew up in an economically tough environment, loved ones that struggle with addiction, the whole nine. I'm not saying that my struggle was any worse than anyone else's, but it did inform the path I would take. That path was to become a medical doctor. And then once receiving my doctoral degree and really understanding how the healthcare system operates and ultimately how it's designed to be primarily for profit before people, I would say launched into industry. And I'm skipping over a lot, happy to go into deeper dive. But the reason I went into industry, I was trying to figure out how do we really change the system if it can't necessarily happen within. I mean, you can change lives, a life for, a life a day, multiple lives a day. But if the system's not working for millions, how do you change it? So I thought that tech could do it. And I think that tech can, change the healthcare system, affordable tech, innovative tech. But the power players in the healthcare system aren't really, just adopting the cheapest technologies out there, right? Or the most efficient. I mean, they have a bottom line they need to meet. So when I started to realize that the game was set up for the major manufacturers and the major insurers to determine the rules of that game, it became very clear that I had to understand what game they were actually playing. Throughout this journey from growing up essentially in the hood and then moving on to becoming a medical doctor and then understanding the economics and the business of healthcare and then propelling myself into more of the kind of political aspect of social movements and learning how to be an organizer. That entire journey really brought me to a point where I was able to take a step back and look at healthcare through this kind of multi-layered lens of social justice and realize that these insurance companies and these manufacturers really start making healthcare expensive at the level of supply chain. If the products start expensive, then everything else is expensive. Keeping the lights on for the hospital, getting your procedure, everything else becomes even more expensive. So that's when Rever DeFi as a concept came about, and this was over 2 years ago. And so the aim from that point on was to understand healthcare supply chain in a deeper way, and then to try to really change it. And so here's healthcare supply chain in 60 seconds. You have insurance companies, you have manufacturers. They're sitting across the table from one another. The manufacturers say, we need to set this price high on this product. The insurance company says, you expect us to pay that? Manufacturer says, pay it and we'll cut you a rebate check. Don't worry about the rest, we'll take care of it. And that's the beginning of this long story of really expensive healthcare that we have in the US and in other countries around the world. So what happens next is, the manufacturer sells to hospitals, to pharmacies, to private practices, but those businesses don't have a lot of time, right, to negotiate. And so they tend to hire middle companies. These are group purchasing organizations, essentially. And for every middle company that gets hired, that price on that product increases because that middle company takes a fee. So when I came to understand that game that was played, it was clear that we could develop a technology platform. Think of Amazon, think of Alibaba, that could pull all of those small businesses that are struggling to access products at affordable prices, the independent pharmacy, the private practice, the community hospital, that we could bring them all together in this marketplace and that together they could have greater collective purchasing power. And how does that make us different from a middle company? Well, transparency, equitable fee structure, meaning low fee structure that everybody can see that's equal across the board. And then ultimately, we have other services that can support those businesses for what they have to do, the pharmacies, the private practices, and possibly the smaller community health systems. And I say possibly because healthcare systems are a little more political than pharmacies are. So that's Unirever. That is our core product within the Rever DeFi ecosystem. But in that whole time
Hold
frame,
on
yep,
2 seconds because I don't want to get too deep because I have questions
okay,
about individual assets as far as your company itself. So what I would say is so more or less what I'm gathering from that answer is you started off in the medical field. You saw how people were pretty much it seemed to be getting robbed for their money and things could be a lot more cost effective as far as people as far as medical and insurance goes.
100%. That's a good way to summarize it. Yeah.
No, no, you're all good. No, I know you're ready to get to the meat and potatoes. I'm like, okay, we gotta build up to it just a little bit, just a little bit. So,
Yeah.
I wanna get some background information on you, then get directly into the project. That way, people know. So, if somebody does view this video that doesn't know about you or about the project, they can know about you, what your initial goals are, starting this project, and where we're trying to go as far as the project. Also, so if we'll pretty much have a timeline as far as you the background and the meat and potatoes, the project itself.
Okay. Sounds
Okay.
good.
All right. So my next question would be, where did the idea of creating the project come from? Which you pretty much explained to me from seeing basically the prices and how you can kind of impact those prices. So I kind of skip over that one. So how many people are on board with your team currently, and how are they obtained?
Yeah. So, the team, we have two blockchain developers, a front end developer, a back end developer, a UI and UX designer that's also a front end developer, but primarily focused on UX, UI design. We have business advisors. We have our first formal partnership that we announced when we launched with Finance, also Pixelime. Those are two sister companies. And you can look at Neros's background to see what they're doing with AI-driven avatars. And so we're partnering with them for a second product within our ecosystem that we can talk about later. And we're also now interviewing for two additional team members on the tech side of things in terms of data infrastructure and ops.
Okay, so are the majority of the team in house? You would say as far as the main people that will be dealt with as far as the token itself.
Yeah, I mean, there's a majority that's U.S. based, but we have one team member that's in Germany.
Okay, okay, no problem with that. I'm sure there was some type of prior dealings. I just asked that because you know how the space is and outsourcing and how that kind of gets messy at times, just to make sure everything is, you know what I mean, on the up and up as far as that in team and
Right.
everything.
So also like it's in house though, right? So no one touches our tech at this stage. I will say no one has touched our tech unless they have signed a contract. There's assignment of rights, and they're for the most part, when I say like the terms and the laws governing that contract are U.S. based, even if they're international, and then ultimately working with countries that have regulations like Germany are also great, right? Because they're actually stricter than we are on so many levels. So for that one team member, that was
Okay, okay.
important to solidify. Yeah.
Okay. 10-4 on that one. Who is in charge of the marketing funds and slash the player wallet?
So I control the keys, cold wallet as well, just to add a layer of security on that.
Okay, okay. So will there be any multi-sigs added into that, or will it just be you that's involved as far as the financials of the project itself?
Yep, we're transitioning to multi-sig, but that's going to be after listings. We have functions in the protocol, anti-arbitrage functions, and even as we deploy across different ecosystems that have different routers, we need to be able to manage those launches, and a multi-sig adds a lot of complexity to doing that. So we're going to stick with the cold wallet until the time in which we're pretty much stabilized across different exchanges, and then we'll transfer over to a multi-sig.
Okay, okay. Can definitely understand that answer. So with that being said, who actually created the contract and who deployed it?
So we created it in-house. So we have two blockchain developers, um, and we deployed it. So I mean, in terms of the keys, I have the keys, so I deployed it, but we
Okay.
developed in-house. Yeah.
And those are things that give me give me confidence. You know what I mean? Somebody's not launching it from the other side of the world, and of course, like I said, new people to the project also know that you will be in charge of situations like that. So that helps people as far as wanting to invest into it. Also, I feel like, was there a private sale or pre-sale with this?
No, so we did something different. It's on the website on the footer. If you scroll all the way down, it's called the
Sure.
liquidity event document. So if you look back, what we did was on February 9th, we launched a two-phase protocol. So it's all the way on the bottom there, learn more about liquidity event. So the two-phase protocol was essentially a slow launch. So people who wanted to participate, we wanted to make sure one person had one chance and not one person has 100 wallets. So they
Right.
would go through a process where they would get an NFT. They would go to Discord. They would then get an NFT. The security steps they had to take would ensure that only one person could go through that process. Essentially, they ended up, if they chose, injecting liquidity. That liquidity in phase two was moved into Uniswap. So if you look at that liquidity event document and even the white paper, you'll understand how that worked. But that's not a like a pre-sale. None of those funds were used for development. There was no like profit taking off of those funds. It was not an ICO. So by legal definition, this was a liquidity injection event, which is very much like a slow launch because it was done over 70 days instead of 5 minutes per se.
Okay. Okay. So that's quite interesting. That may be one of the first times I'm actually hearing about that way of doing it. So not mad at that. What made you want to take that approach?
I mean, I think building community is about building trust. And I think the best way to build trust is to try to mitigate risk that you've identified. And we've all identified situations where, first off, we see pre-sales that are taking 30 to 50% of those things, like the funds, and pulling it out. So people are automatically diluted. ICOs are illegal in the US, so I don't even need to talk about that. But even when you look at some pre-sales that look like they're doing things right, you end up finding out that people have dozens of wallets. One person has dozens of wallets, and that's not
Right.
right. So that's why we set up this whole process where we actually, our NFTs, the ones we have so far, they're not secondary market NFTs per se, right? Like you're not going to get 100x out of them. We use the NFT protocol as a security pass, and we set a function in the NFT protocol where it's called a boomerang function. So if anybody, you could only use it once in the wallet. If you tried to transfer it out, it boomeranged back to the deployer wallet to signal that you had tried to do that. So it really,
Hmm.
when we told people this was going to happen before, so it's not like anybody would be surprised. It was just trying to set a precedent that we're going to do things a certain way in Reaper DeFi. And we have a small community, but it's a community that align on these values and these principles.
Okay. I like that, and that's different. Also, I'm hearing a lot of different things as far as your procedures of how you guys are handling things. Not in a bad way, but I actually like these ways. It seems like you really went out your way to try to protect the investors. All right. So, what was the starting market cap, price, and supply, and was there any burns?
Yeah. So for the total supply, there was 10 billion. That's also in the white paper. We burned within the first 3 days 20%. of that. And you can see there's an amendment on the right. And I know it's an uncomfortable visual, but I put it so that it could be uncomfortable, popped out at you when you saw it on the right hand side. So 10 billion, we burned 20%. In terms of the distribution amount, if you look at, we had 25% of the tokens, so 2.5 billion that was put into Uniswap. Of that 2.5 billion, half of that 1.25 billion was distributed amongst the liquidity event participants. So that's 128 people. But here's the thing, all of those 128 people agreed to a lock and release period. That means that when the launch happened, 15% of the tokens had been distributed to them, but the other 85% unlocks little by little, day by day, over the course of 11 months. So all those individuals agreed that the long-term vision of Rever DeFi mattered more. And so in the circulating supply, there's actually technically, like, there's 2.5 billion, but there's a percentage of that that's still locked up, right? Because the liquidity event participants ultimately agreed that would be the case. So if you want to do the math on that, I think 39 Ethereum, which had been the total amount in the liquidity event, and you can distribute that among, you can do the math on 2.5 billion in the market, and that would essentially provide you with the valuation of the market cap that we were starting at.
Therefore, roger that, roger that. Okay, so overall, I was checking out the chart, and the launch definitely looked healthy. I'm sure the lockup of tokens, which I do appreciate people being willing to do that. That does say a lot about the project and the longevity of it. So as far as the top wallet setup, do you mind if we run through that really quick, just so people can get an understanding of that? Just the first couple of them. So I'm pretty sure this is probably a deployer, and looks like you got some liquidity pool right here, dev wallet, and is this a dev wallet? I believe it is.
No. So the first one up top, those tokens are that's under contract 2. So if you go to Dex Tools, you'll see the connections here. We have 20% of the supply that's in a locked vesting contract. And if you look at that, none of it's released yet. So that locked vesting contract, that's defined on our Discord. It's essentially tokens that will be released over time if claimed into certain wallets. The wallet addresses are given on Discord as well. And that is for business, technology, marketing aspect of Rever DeFi. So the aim is to actually never have to use that, because native token liquidation is never healthy for a project. But it's just to say that that is locked up. You would see the movement of those things, and we would ultimately have to defend our use of them at any given time in the areas of business, technology, or marketing. The snap. So I could be mixing this up, but one of the top two is a contract where we're locking 20% of the reserve tokens, just locking them all together, and the other one is a vesting contract. And like I said, Dex Tools, you can differentiate those two contracts, because one of them, the team locker link, goes right to the one that's associated with the 20% of tokens that are completely locked. The third is obviously the burn wallet. You can see it dead at the end of the null address. The fourth is the deployer. So we are going to have manual burns, and we also know that if given the opportunity for some exchanges, we may need some amount of reserve tokens for those exchanges. And for anyone that's deployed a project, even like, Binance does ask these questions about tokens and what you might be willing to use for marketing purposes. So because it's there, it's also something that no matter what, we're going to have to defend if any of that is used. The burns, I think everyone is ultimately excited about when they do happen, but that's a deployer number 4. And then you have
the rest of that's
Uniswap.
just Uniswap. So
Yep.
Okay, so I'm okay with that. So next I was gonna say, can we go over the tokenomics and kind of why you guys chose this setup? And I was actually
Yeah, absolutely.
looking through it. Once you get to the rate for the actual development and marketing and liquidity, I was actually wondering what percentages were those? Like within the
I'm sorry.
7. I know it's 7%, but is that 7% split between all of them pretty much? Is it allocated between all
No,
of
no,
those different?
no. that was more expectation setting, that we have a function. So development and marketing, I think those get lumped together from my perspective. Too often, when you just leave marketing, people assume that you should be just dropping ads on TV or something. There's a lot of protocol development work that goes into the various, assets that we're focused on, which again we could talk about later. So development and marketing is the category. Liquidity support is a function. So we have the opportunity to swap directly into the liquidity rather than swapping out kind of into Ethereum into the marketing and development wallet. So for the most part, that's just a function call where we feed the liquidity instead of pulling into the marketing and development wallet. And there's a time for that as well. If you look at our trajectory, number of holders, and where we are, it's very early to initiate that function at this point in time. But that's what liquidity support means. And so if you look at the contract, you'd see that function there. Burn rate's 2%, reflections 3%. Also, there's upgradability. So one of the things that I've always talked about with community is that reflections are a healthy reward system per se, if that's how you kind of think about it early on. But over time, the disparity between the large holders and the small holders is so great that it kind of becomes this false incentive where people want to hold for reflections, but their bags are so small that they're really not benefiting from it. So I don't want us in the life of this token to fall into this kind of spiraling down cycle of promising these rewards, which are, like I've said, it's kind of a false incentive if the disparity of the bag size is so small. So when we get to UniRiver and the utility we have, the aim at that point is really just to lower the fees altogether to near, if not complete zero, and to really focus on just pulling revenue into the liquidity pool and really focusing on what we can do from a redistribution standpoint with our treasury. So these tokenomics are our path to get to UniRiver, but once we're in UniRiver, they become less important because revenue generating marketplace in a multi-billion-dollar industry can bring back value without needing things like high reflections.
Okay. Definitely understand that. I've actually seen, I mean, a lot of coins that do well without reflections. You know what I mean? Tokens have done well with low reflections, as low as 1%, and are thriving. We're not right this second because the market is, yeah, but you know what I mean. But
Yeah.
when the market was good, you know what I mean. So, but let me get to my next question. What are the use cases of this token, and could you run through how those function and what are the benefits for the holders? This I feel like this is gonna be a favorite part.
Yeah. So again, so if you look at how the marketplace is working, it's a business to business and business to consumer marketplace. The business to business transactions we're talking about in the realm of, each independent pharmacy is reordering $250,000 of products a month. Medium to large size hospital, $300 million a year. So these are large transactions altogether on a monthly basis, on an annual basis, especially as we pull more businesses in. Our utility token has a role in that transactional process. And when we look at what is the purpose of a utility token? So the role and purpose from my perspective, utility token is to actually redirect resources in unique ways, but in an automated fashion, meaning removing the centralized hand from determining when funds get pulled into this, treasury or that treasury, and making it automated. So every single transaction, there is a process taking place that is either feeding into a liquidity or feeding into a treasury that can then feed into the liquidity. So as these large volume transactions are taking place, our token has a role in the process, and then ultimately we are generating value that we are then housing in a treasury, and then ultimately it's from that treasury that we can do everywhere from strengthening the liquidity pool to other unique things. Now, I'm being very careful when I talk about the things that we can do, because if you want to address securities issues, and I have to say this, I can't oversimplify it, but if you want to mitigate the risk of falling into securities category, you have to consider the Howey test, however old it is, whatever the debate is. And one of the things that are mentioned, one of the tenets is, have the profits that have been generated by the sole work of others. So in other words, is the company itself is a centralized organization itself the one that is doing all the work. So this is where our DAO comes into play. We're not just a utility token. We're not just NFTs. We have a DAO in our ecosystem, and we're in the process of completing that protocol. And that DAO will interact with certain decisions, and those decisions will have a role in how certain resources are allocated. So the utility token is the thing that helps us get those resources, to a certain place, but the DAO is ultimately the thing that helps us get those resources out. And that is how we not just change healthcare, not just generate a highly valuable platform. It's actually how we change the business structure altogether. That's a cooperative business structure right there. So sorry to walk down the rabbit hole. I just don't want to oversimplify and set the wrong expectations, or kind of like have this recording, and then not address like the dangers of a security. But your utility tokens in the transactions helps us pull resources in a unique way, and then the DAO is ultimately what allows us to leverage those resources in other ways in terms of how they get allocated.
Okay, so pretty much once you guys set up shop, how you guys set up shop, part of the taxes or part of the fee itself goes back to the liquidity pools and the treasury wallet, you said?
No, so it's not the tax. So it's
Because I'm trying to get it breaking down as in
yeah, you're
layman's
trying to get the
terms, kind of
protocol.
as
I get
you
it. Yeah, yeah. I'm
as
trying.
you
Yeah,
just
I'm
for everybody out there. So if they do have questions out there, I don't want anybody to be like, yeah, I heard it, but
yeah. So I guess I can say something. I'm actually trying not to give like a protocol process away at this point. But
no, I get it.
yeah,
I don't want to go too
yeah,
far if you can't go too far. But if you could, I don't want to say dumb it down just a little bit so that people can like,
yeah. So
I don't know,
so let
grasp the
me.
concept just a little bit better. Like,
Okay,
I get
so
what you're saying, but just
yeah.
yeah,
So forget the tax fees for the moment. From the perspective of River and the value of the token,
okay,
assume that taxes are not present, because those taxes will force us to make the service more expensive for our clients on the business side.
okay,
So assume that it's not taxes. Assume that the utility token, the asset, starts to build value in having a role within these transactions. And so as the utility token builds value, that value is going to be reflected in revenue. And then that revenue becomes the capital that we can use to strengthen the liquidity pool, right?
okay,
So
got
it's
you.
like the best utility out there, the real utility for any project is generating revenue and having that revenue get pulled back into the ecosystem, whether it's directly into the liquidity pool if you're swapping in, or whether it's another redistribution mechanism if you're providing rewards in another way. I just would caution anyone that says rewards and benefits to make sure that they have some type of DAO in the ecosystem, because you got to be really careful with securities. But yeah.
Okay, 10-4, 10-4, and I like the way that you kind of re-broke that down for us, kind of brought it back and then brought it back home. Okay, so I get it. What are the long term and short term visions for the token? And by that, I mean, like, as far as for incentives for investors to hold short term. And also because you already know in crypto, remaining relevant in crypto, it becomes increasingly difficult nowadays. So what is the goal to kind of remain in that line, not in the limelight, but still a relevant cryptocurrency right now?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of noise out here, and it's a struggle, to remain relevant if people aren't looking for what we're offering. And a lot of what we've offered is, like you mentioned earlier, like you validated earlier, is a different way of doing things.
Yeah.
Legislation is coming, governance is coming. The question is, are we setting a framework to self-govern? So when we were taking a process like the NFTs and Discord to try to make a launch fair, or when we were extending a launch 70 days, which is unusual, but when we were doing that, we were trying to set a precedent that we could do things differently. A lot of people that in crypto that talk about doing things differently knew that we were doing it, and not everyone came to even see how we were doing it. So relevance, I guess, is relative to the people that are paying attention. For mass adoption, we are setting a precedent. And with the market and the way it is today, if this is the beginning of mass adoption, if this is the thing that happens right before, I have no doubt that Rever DeFi is going to be a part of the upcoming narrative, right? Of how things get done. I will say this: everything that we've done, we have receipts, because I'm also preparing for a day where every single project in this space will have to validate and defend why they did things. Like I'm getting ready for that. And so we have receipts to defend why we made the decisions we made, to ensure that we're following all business ethics, right, laws across states, because they do vary. So relevance, a part of it is about doing it right. Do we have to continue to build community? Yes. Our community, the metaphor, the symbol that we really hold on to is what we call the hooded. It is very much about abandoning ego, really focusing on social conditions, right? Like, how do we improve the social conditions for others? How do we acknowledge the social determinants of health? How do we not just focus on legacy wealth and a path towards that, but on generational wealth, on the next 7 generations? And we're seeing the community grow around that. Our partnership with Nero's Finance and Pixel Lime is going to change a lot of things for us in a good way. Neros and Pixel Lime are, again, sister companies. They have contracts with USPS, with the Army, for some of the artificial intelligence technology, but also they've had game productions and augmented reality, VR, virtual reality. They've also had film productions. And so when you look at Scriptotainment, I know you were reviewing that earlier this morning, right? So Scriptotainment is our way of saying, how are we going to tell stories differently? And so we're going to be working with Pixel Lime to have a film, production that's already been completed, released. And so this is just a matter of distribution at this point. We have a book entitled Anoon. Anoon is going to be our virtual reality healthcare focused game. And it's not so much a game as it is an experience. And so we're working with Neros and Pixel Lime to bring Anoon into an interactive book format, and ensure that we have artificial intelligence playing into that interactive book, and then translating that over into a virtual reality experience that can support people that are going through cognitive and behavioral therapy. So even though UniRiver is the thing that we've dedicated over 2 years to, there are other products, I call them foundational products, that have already been built so that we can have those secondary products grow. And those secondary products could take off faster even than UniRiver. If you think of UniRiver in the lifespan of like Alibaba or Amazon, and then you compare something like a Noon in the lifespan of like a VR games, right? Because games ultimately do take off a little faster. Now, if and when that happens, the virtual reality experience, let's say, takes off faster than UniRiver, we know that we have a partnership with a company that already has institutional partners that are massive, right? And so our aim is to focus on the work we need to do, continue to educate, inform others, manage spaces, and support community as best as we can. And then simultaneously, for any human resources that we cannot grow internally, even if it's because capital constraints, we're going to strategically pursue partnerships that are going to bring those resources in for us, so that we can not just like stay alive, but thrive in this market environment, right? Which is not the best, but we're still moving, and I'm confident as to what the future holds.
Okay. Okay. So pretty much that actually rolled into my next question. I was going to ask you what were your future marketing plans, but it sounds like the future partnerships that you have, and kind of looks like word of mouth, and the from the partnerships also, there's going to be, what is it, like a press release or something like that as far as the partnerships, or how is that going to work as far as marketing?
Yeah, so we actually made the announcement for Neros and Pixel Lime the day of the launch. So that was something that we put in the same day. Yeah, press releases. We're going to have more articles, Medium, Reddit. Reddit, we're all as a community trying to build up kind of points. You know how they have like a point system.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then in terms of dedicating marketing dollars strategically to marketing efforts, we're not opposed to that. What I am opposed to is you know $30,000 and free tokens, which seems to be like a pretty standard request in DeFi. And like, it just does. First off, the free tokens is just not something that I'm I'm for. We see that play out in really bad ways with dumps that take place. And then if we're gonna talk about business ethics, we got to follow industry standards. And so even when dedicating money to marketing, I mean, it has to be reasonable. And with an early stage tech venture that has multiple assets, even with great partnerships, it doesn't make sense to exhaust 40% of your budget to just marketing efforts when there's so much technical work to do. So, not opposed to putting dollars up to marketing, but we're gonna always favor tech more.
Okay, okay, makes sense. And I like the fact that you're not opposed to marketing because I feel like marketing does help things thrive a little bit, also as you were stating. But word of mouth does work, and so does some solid partnerships, creating a buzz in the market. Also, that would also do it. Also, so I definitely understand that, and everybody has their own route as far as trying to build up a community. Some people have tried to go the more organic route, which people have liked and disliked multiple different, I guess, variations of that because people have different variations of how they kind of organically grow. But I do like adding partnerships and kind of creating a buzz that way, then getting the tech already in line. And then with the tech in line, then kind of looking towards the marketing aspect of it. So that that's pretty good. I like that. And I was looking at the roadmap also. So we're still in stage one, getting closer to stage two. So the coin gecko and coin market cap listings, those are coming in stage two, or have those been in the process already? Or
Yeah, I mean the applications have gone in, and I've had more back and forth with CoinGecko. Surprisingly, it's been an interesting experience. But yeah, the applications are in, the process is in. CoinGecko initially denied, and then I appealed it and essentially asked for more information. So we'll see if they give us any. We are on Gecko Terminal. That's the beta, so you can see price points on Gecko Terminal. So we're at least there already. And CoinMarketCap has us untracked because you need to be on 3 listings for CoinMarketCap to actually list data. But you can find Rever DeFi on CoinMarketCap already.
okay, 10-4, 10-4. And guys, feel free to hit that poll that is in the chat, guys. You already know what it is, that cuff rating, guys, as we have received some good information about Rever DeFi and what they are doing, the business aspects of it, and how they're trying to improve healthcare for a lot of different people out there. So I do like a lot of different aspects of this, and it definitely makes me want to continue to dig deeper and kind of see where it kind of progresses to. But definitely hit that poll up. Let me know how you guys are feeling about it and where you guys are at as far as the information you guys have received. And if you guys have any questions, also feel free to throw those into the chat so I can go ahead and ask those. And let me scroll through this roadmap here, see if there's anything else that you would like to put out there, any other info that you would like to drop also while we're waiting on questions from the chat. Because you're more than welcome to throw out any more info if you want to throw it out. But I was actually interested if any other exchanges will be coming into play anytime soon. If you can release that info.
Yeah, so our focus is, we want to get to a healthy number of holders. I mean, when I say healthy, even several hundred, right? If we can get to a 500 mark, somewhere between 500 and 1,000, to pay for a listing for some of even the easier listings to get on the centralized exchanges, and not have at least a greater number of holders at this point. It can be, it doesn't necessarily help. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, in terms of getting onto listings when your holder count is too low. So
Okay.
that's our priority. So the roadmap is the roadmap, right? That's the ideal scenario, but we're adjusting. So if you look at holders too, I know it said 93. We actually have more. We have over 200. It's just for some reason, Etherscan is not representing them. But if you go on DEX tools, you'll see them represented more. So also something to note, which I
Okay, yeah,
find
that
interesting.
was actually something that I was going to ask because I did see the difference between the two. I just didn't want to interrupt you. I was looking like I'm like 211, and I want the Etherscan. I'm like, but yeah, I'm glad you
Yeah,
explained it. So
yeah. I think Etherscan. So the liquidity injection event, because it's so different,
Mhm.
I wonder whether it's not counting the 128 people, even though they are holders, but for some reason Dex tools. So maybe it's just that EtherScan's making a different call or compared to Dex tools.
Yeah, that's weird. Usually it's on Dex tools it's a little bit off, and then you go on Etherscan and on Etherscan and it'd be correct. That's actually a little bit that's a little weird. So yeah, no, I definitely
Yeah,
understand it. But yeah, there's some trippy things that go on with Dex tools and a lot of other platforms as far as listing and getting the accurate information as it's coming in. So
right.
therefore, I definitely understand that. Not seeing any questions. So either you're very, very, very informative. There some of the people know about it already, but I think it's just that you're very informative. You do definitely break things down thoroughly, and I do appreciate your approach of how you explain things.
No, thank you so much for the questions. And I try to not go that deep. I sometimes I do walk down
This
the
is a
rabbit
deep
hole.
subject.
Uh,
I
yeah,
understand it.
but that's the thing. And just to like describe the maybe some mark. Now we can go at a lot higher level at a business level, but now this is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it's gone unchecked in Web 2.0 world, like unchecked. And if you look at the moves that are being made now, I guess like anything else, look at Amazon. So not Amazon specifically, but look at an acquisition that Amazon made over the last 3 years. So Amazon acquired PillPack for $1.2 billion, and Walgreens was trying to get it for somewhere between 660 to $670 million. Now, why is that the case? Because there's a move towards online pharmacies now, and there's some credibility around that kind of markets where there wasn't in the past. So why is that the case? Well, because again, home healthcare, electronic prescription filing, mail prescriptions, right? All of these things that are adding convenience to people's lives is what industries are moving towards. Now, why? How does Unilever play into this kind of movement, this trend? Well, one of the things that the industry tends to forget, or I would say in healthcare, some of the players that tend to be forgotten are the smaller businesses, the private practices, the independent pharmacies. And they're 2,400, I mean, they're 24,000 independent pharmacies in the US alone. And globally, there's many more, right? In the US, there are many private practices. The online pharmacies are becoming more popular. What are all these small players going to do in isolation? Eventually, the Amazons are going to push them out of business. The CVSs, the Walgreens are going to push them out of business. When we talk about DeFi, when we talk about renegade innovation, when we talk about people power, Unilever represents that, right? It's taking a multi-billion-dollar market and it's pulling a market that market has not tapped into, and it's pulling the market that matters, the businesses that are supporting marginalized communities, right? The businesses that are passing savings down to consumers more often, and it's giving them a place to fight back. And from my perspective, like that is what the future of Web3 should look like in healthcare.
Definitely, definitely. And man, this entire project just from looking through the roadmap and the things you guys are kind of trying to accomplish and the holder count that you guys are kind of looking to accomplish these things in definitely looks promising. I like the fact that you've been working on this for some time. It's not just something that you dreamt up and just say, you know what, yeah, start it right now. You know, so I like the
Yeah.
fact that it was a process that you kind of went through, and you definitely did your homework behind it. You have a team behind it, partnerships in place, which usually you have to wait a little bit longer down the line to kind of see some of those things flourish as far as earlier projects. So I think you guys are ahead of the game as far as a lot of the things that you have going on currently. So I will definitely like to keep up with this one. So I definitely will be keeping tracks and tabs of this one to see how progress is going, especially since it's really early. Only it's under 500 holders, which is really crazy to see this project at, especially hearing the details of it. So
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's tough, and I'm just gonna like just for anyone listening, it's such a dilemma, like an ethical dilemma, as a when you're leading a project, especially like this, which is like I said, everything, assume in DeFi, everything will be challenged. So the moment you're leading a venture, everything that comes out of everything on this recording that comes out of my mouth can be used against me. And so you got to set expectations that are reasonable. And like, this is the toughest thing, because like, here we are doing something massive, right? And we've been doing it. And yeah, there are days I just want to go out there and like, yell to the world, like, what are you doing? What are you waiting for? One of those like, remember that movie? Like,
Yeah,
what are
no,
you
I've
waiting
definitely seen that. Dude,
for?
I'm
But
thinking in
it's like,
my
yeah,
head like it's crazy. Like literally the concept behind what you're trying to do and the fact that you've already been working on it, then if it gets accomplished the way it's supposed to, that is a lot of volume at once, like you were saying, as far as the like I was literally thinking about like that is a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And we're also solving pain points, right? I mean, volume, market size, market potential, even capitalizing 2%, right, of this market, huge potential, but we're solving pain points. Like, these businesses do not have the leverage. They don't have, half the time the independent pharmacies are just struggling to make the reorder, to repurchase. They're having to source out their contracting to a group purchasing organization, which puts their, I would say, it leaves them at the mercy of a third party to negotiate a good deal for them, which is never good,
Right.
right? So, like, that is a massive pain point, and they don't have time to worry about it, because most of these independent pharmacies, we're talking brick and mortar mom and pop shops, to use that phrase, which they're out there trying to keep their overhead low, trying to make sure that they're filling those prescriptions, and then also trying to expand their market reach and dedicate dollars to advertising in newspapers. So like, Unilever coming in and empowering them with this service, and then with an ecosystem where they can actually expand their digital footprint so that they can manage their shop, but now have this platform marketplace to help them not just engage with customers, but also to procure their products. That's solving a massive pain point for these businesses. And I think that's what utility really should be about, right? Solving real world problems.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. I like the fact that it's for the people. I actually like this quote too. We are people over profit, and I like that. People over profit. It's like you guys could make a lot more with it, but it's like you're trying to make things affordable while still trying to spread wealth around while doing so. So that is something amazing to see, and you don't see very often as far as like people really kind of gearing it towards investors. My biggest question is, do you feel like there will be any type of pushback? Because I don't really see them liking the 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 lesser of volume coming in on their end if this does take off the way I think it could possibly.
Yeah, so it's about, you're bringing up, so there's always politics. The
Yeah.
question is, at what point do they see you coming? So right now, they're over 100, and I'm giving you like a simple, but they're over 100 group purchasing organizations, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are dozens of pharmacy benefits management companies. These are middle companies I'm pointing out, right? So there are all these middle companies, multi-million dollar middle companies, that are supporting negotiations between the sellers and the buyers in this industry. And did you know that many of them don't even share, they're not transparent about their fee structure? There's no legal requirement for rebates to get passed down to consumers. So when you see a business like GoodRx on TV, if you're in the US, and you're like, oh, GoodRx gives you these discounts. No, GoodRx actually works for the middle companies. If you look at the companies that fund GoodRx, the middle companies, every now and then GoodRx will extend a little rebate, a little discount to make you come in, and then it charges you a subscription fee. So it's making more money off of fees, because many of the people that are paying those subscriptions don't ever really access discounts, that they can't get better discounts if they have coverage.
Right.
So my point is that, you know, there's so much greed in healthcare today, and there's so much, like, I would say, indifference about solutions, that what they'll see is an ecosystem that is bringing businesses together. And at face value, we are very similar to a cooperative network. But at the same time, what we're actually doing is we're not just supporting the contracting side, right? We're also going to be supporting secondary services. So by the time we grow to the point that we are influential, there's no stopping us. And if you want parallels to this, I'll give a parallel that with one difference, and the difference matters. The parallel is, what did CVS do? CVS started with the pharmacy. It incorporated its own negotiating entity. So it's the middle company and it's the pharmacy, and then it bought an insurance company. So now it's the insurance company, the middle company, and the pharmacy. That's vertical consolidation. That's monopoly, right? And next, they're probably going to buy a manufacturer. They're going to be a monopsony too. So that's CVS. With Rever, what is the difference? People. I can't stress enough, though I glanced over it, that the DAO and the role that the DAO plays in our ecosystem is what matters the most. Because if you have a hierarchical business that consolidates across every arena, yeah, that's a profitable business. Yeah, that's a multi-million-dollar business. But at some point, the shareholders, because if that business goes public or you start taking VC money, at some point, that business is going to be driven to keep more of its profits and not to share them at all, not to pass cost savings down. It's just the nature of like corporate America. So how do you mitigate that? How do you, in some respects, control that? How do you ensure that it truly is people driven? Well, it needs to be more of a cooperative business model. And DAOs can be that. I'm not talking about ApeCoin or these DAOs that call themselves a DAO, but you have to buy power. I'm talking about a real DAO. So in our ecosystem, our DAO will be packaged in an NFT, and the protocol is weighted and gated, meaning you never lose your vote, but your vote increases in strength the more you engage. It decreases in strength the less you
Oh,
engage,
that's nice.
but you always have an opportunity to engage. Like, if you create the dependencies for people to have to influence essential decisions within the boundaries of the law, then no one will ever take the people away from that power, right? But you
Right.
have to design the system to be that way.
I like that. I like that you don't have to buy your way into power, like you said. And the more tokens you hold, the more decision you have, the more you interact, the more decision making power you have, which that is interesting and also something unique about that. So, yeah, that's I like that. I like that. Listening to the people. Somebody asked for heal to earn details.
Yeah, so Heal to Earn is a business model around the virtual reality product that we'll be working with Neros and Pixel Lime on. So when you think about mental health, so we want to tackle the big problems, right? So Unilever is tackling the big problem in supply chain. With a Noon, which is the name of the book, it's the lore, and bringing that into a virtual reality experience, we want to tackle one of the biggest problems in healthcare services, one of the most underserved areas, which is mental health. And so, how do you help someone navigate through a healing process? We know that telemedicine is not very effective. COVID-19, a lot of people started using telemedicine for crisis situations. And there's enough data now to show that telemedicine across a Zoom call is just not effective. So, how do we create a different type of remote experience, a hypersensorial experience with visuals and auditory sounds, right? That can help someone really reflect on what a licensed clinical provider is telling them to reflect on without being triggered, right? This is the science behind the experience. So, Heal to Earn is a way to address the exploitation that happens in healthcare. So, every time we go to the healthcare system, our data is getting pulled. And yeah, there's certain requirements for how the data is managed. But I've worked with healthcare systems where IBM will come in, they'll run data, like anonymized data, right? They'll run it through through a learning process. They'll develop a predictive algorithm around it, and then they'll test the algorithm. And you never know if they're going to go ahead and make a product out of it. But we do know that eventually products do get made. They do get commercialized, profits get generated. And it's off the backs of all the people that contributed, though those people never see a dollar. And most of them are paying for expensive healthcare in the first place. So you're paying and you're giving your data up. So heal to earn is a way of saying every time someone goes through this journey of Anoon, there's going to be a contribution that's made, and that contribution should be rewarded. So you heal, but you also earn, and that's the heal to earn concept.
Wow, that's so you got a lot of just unique things just thrown in here. Is there anything that's the same as anything else that that you would normally see in a token? I think everything that I've heard so far is unique, from the way that you launched to the way that you got liquidity to the like just everything. It seems you're trying to do in a unique fashion.
Yeah, the tools have been right in front of us for a long time, right? And nothing's perfect. I honestly, like, I could think of ways of us, if we had another year and $1 million, to do this even better, right? And I hope that we can be a catalyst for someone who will have the opportunity to do it even better. But I also looked back before we started this journey, specifically when I say this phase of the journey, the white paper, the protocol, the launch. You just look around and you see all the damage that's being done, and that that legislation is coming. And it's like, do we really believe in the social movement aspect of this? Because the technology is going to survive. It doesn't matter how many laws are created. Business models are going to be around. Cooperatives have been around before this. They'll be around after. Regular business models have been around. So that's not going to change. Laws are going to be laws. But the social movement, like, either we grow it now, or it crumbles beneath the weight of rugs and scams.
Yeah.
So, like, from my perspective, it was just about seeing these amazing tools that we've created and making a choice at the detriment of any immediate value, right? Because a lot of people rush because they want launch, they want to develop that liquidity, they want to get that marketing wallet. But, like, I don't, I didn't, I, that's not the purpose, right? The purpose is to ensure that as we build this up, from the tech business model and even the role that we will play in the structure around self-governance, as we build this up, that we're building people up to. Because if we're not doing that, why not just be a Web 2.0? Why not just leave the DeFi instruments
Facts.
completely out of this?
Facts. Man, yeah. So, like I said, I like a lot of different aspects of this. You have definitely opened my eyes to a lot of different things. Even though I read it, hearing you describe it and kind of go in depth about the situation just kind of opens my eyes to a couple of different things. So, like I said, definitely will be something that I will be paying attention to as far as the Rever DeFi movement. I was wondering beforehand why I kept seeing those NFTs every single where, like every space that I would go, I would see you. And I'm like, okay, like that's cool NFT. And I see somebody else with it. I'm like, okay, why does everybody have these NFTs? And I can't even find them anywhere. I can't even find them
Yeah,
anywhere. I'm like, what is this NFT? Because I like NFTs. So I couldn't
yeah,
figure it out. So it's nice to kind of get down to the bottom of that now.
yeah. No, I'm glad, and I'm grateful for every person in the community. I say this all the time. Like, I don't want people to feel like being a token holder is like the sole thing that equates to community. Like, community is so much more. Like, it really is. People are gonna make whatever decisions they have to make, and we all know that a lot of people come to this space because they're in, like, survival mode. And yet yet the NFTs, the hooded, like, there's a video actually on, if you go to my Twitter handle, Profit Cryptos, or just like hashtag Reaver DeFi. But, like, there's a video called, that's the Reaver DeFi video. Check that one out too. That one's good. But it's called Echoes of the Hooded, and Echoes of the Hooded
It's on your
embodies.
profile, you said?
Yeah, 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 yeah. So Echoes of the Hooded is the ethos, right? It's like, what are we all about? Like, what is this all about? We know that a lot of people say 99% of people came for the money, and I'm not gonna say that's not true, but it's all the way at the top. It's been to the top. Yeah, it's right there. I'm not
Is
gonna
it
say
or
that's not
no?
true. This is it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
If you want, I can play it really quick if you want.
Yeah.
You can finish the explanation first. Let me change the audio.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that, people may have come, but like I don't think that a lot of people are just here for that. I think it's not like it's not one-sided. So many of us are, yeah, operating in like this mindset. Well, we have a short time on this earth and we have to survive, but we're also thinking about the next generations. And 1 month in DeFi, 2 months in DeFi, that's not going to do it for a lot of people. So people are thinking ahead, and I'm hoping that they can see that there are like thousands of others thinking the same exact way. And if we can just come together, we can do some amazing things.
Most definitely, most definitely. You were saying innovation, tech, selfless warriors. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of the different hashtags that I'm seeing. It definitely seems like you're striving to help people more than make a profit. And usually, when you hear about cryptocurrencies, you hear about them trying to make a profit rather than help people. So I like that that reversal you're pulling on us. So let me go ahead and throw this video out there and let's see what's going on with this.
We are the hooded, who did not rise nor fall, who were not placed nor made. We are the hooded, cloaked upon a spirit of divergence where ones and zeros were. We chose neither. To know the known and to light a way beyond this mental meta and verse, we wear the hood and lift the veil. A faceless few sparked beneath an abandoned ego. We are the things. Bound by struggles of woods and hoods, we raise our heads to see what will be, to untether from the constraints of human condition, to break the rules of this arbitrary rendition. We are boundless warriors. Fear our hammer, despair our flame. These golden scales take form. Balance is their aim. We are the hooded, the faceless and placeless, the one place we'll know, where warriors stake swords and seeds that they sow. We are the hooded, the sparks that respark, a mirage of infinite echoes and ethos which tell the story of those delicate and fierce things which diverge from their forms. So in this meta and beyond, the many might become one.
Okay, definitely dope. I like that. So I'm guessing that voiceover was you, right?
Yeah, exactly. And
Okay.
then the other video on Rever DeFi, that's really about the, like, organizationally, like what we're really trying to do here, right? I mean, like, at what point do we not recognize that the system's going to break? And COVID, I mean, it's hanging on by a hairstring, and supply chain bottlenecks around distribution, in terms of, like, getting off the ships is one thing, but no one's talking about how bidding wars delayed personal protective equipment from getting to hospitals when clinical providers needed those masks, right? Greed was killing people. So, like, from my perspective, like, this mission that we're on, this battlefield that we're fighting on, it impacts everyone. And it's not fatalistic because we're going through it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just can't, we're not even out of a pandemic, we're into an endemic, but you know, we're going through it. So anyway, I'm getting a little philosophical now, but it's my hope is that people, when they look at the videos, when they review the white paper, just know that beyond the tech, it's it's all heart. And any early stage tech venture that's going to get to the point where it's a multi-billion-dollar platform, it's going to happen with heart and grit, and we have that.
Okay. Okay. 10-4. And I love that. And then on that note, did you have anything else that you wanted to say, go over, or just tell the community before we get out of here and kind of wrap this one up?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for having taken the time to listen to the space. Even if you immerse yourself in the white paper, I know it can be dense. Appreciate that. Check out our Discord. That is, we only use Discord for the most part. We have Telegram, we have all these other things set up. We do Twitter Spaces, but Discord is like the safest place. We made it so that, like everything else we're doing, it's a little different. So you go check in with a bot. We've kept hackers, scammers out. And so that is the primary place where we put a lot of information. We have community moderators. We do movie nights. We do poker night. Really just try to make sure that we're building relationships with everyone. I also want to thank you for giving me this opportunity
No problem.
in a space where there are not many opportunities. This has been an amazing one. So thank you so much.
Definitely, no problem. I'm glad that you actually came on. Is there where is that link located for that Discord?
Yeah, so we actually, it was pinned at the top before. If you go to my profile, I'll have to like update that. I'm sorry. Um, it's pinned to my profile, right up there on the left hand side,
My
Discord,
lip.
right there.
Oh, but bam. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Let
yeah,
me
yeah. So we'll repin it on the main profile, but
and I'll drop it in the chat also for anybody who was interested in trying to join the Discord. That's the official link to get into their Discord, guys. The previous screen I was just on, which I'll go back to. This is his profile right here. If you want to go ahead and add him, feel free to do that. That way you can follow him on Twitter also. Then, if you guys would like to, you can add the Rever DeFi Twitter also, which is right here. You guys are more than welcome to go ahead and add that one. I appreciate everybody from coming out. This was definitely some strong information, and I like the fact that it was really geared towards trying to help investors and a lot of people who don't even know that they're spending a lot more that they can be saving. So I do like those aspects about it. So definitely check out that white paper, the website, the Twitter. You got his Twitter also, but definitely we'll drop the actual website inside of the chat also for you guys if you guys are trying to tap in with that and look at that white paper. But other than that, I appreciate you guys for coming by. This has been an amazing one. And you guys enjoy the rest of your night, guys. We're out of here.